take yourself back to when you first committed to doing the entrepreneurship thing, whatever the thing was. And if you're like 2, 3, 4, 5 years into this plus, look at yourself. I want you to go back in time, look at yourself and say, hey, listen, things are getting tough. I'm not quite sure I can do this. I'm going to quit on you. I'm going to give up on you. I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
In 4.5 years, I'm giving up. I'm throwing in the towel. I'm walking away. Everyone was right.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't going to make it, and I'm going to quit on you.
Yeah.
And what would you tell to yourself?
Yeah.
All right. Hello and welcome to the MC Fortune podcast. I am your host, Zach Martin. I'm here with my buddy, business partner, and friend, Taylor. Mr. Taylor Cobb, Mr. Push It Through.
What's going on?
Mr. Fix It, whatever
That's
you want
right.
to call him. That's what I like to call him. We're back. And last time we were here, we took a little time to get to know me in detail, just for the audience. And, this time we're gonna get to know Taylor.
Yeah.
A little bit about your backstory, how you got here, some of the cool stories that you have for everyone to share. And I know how much you love talking about yourself. So we're going to be, I'm going to have a blast doing this for you, dude.
Let's get intimate.
Let's do it. I'm excited for it, dude.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
He's here in his golf attire because he just wants to get golfing. But
That's right.
But we're here. We're excited. We're gonna get into this. So, again, the biggest thing with this is we want to make sure the audience knows who we are and kind of what we've come from, because you can relate to us.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier to relate and to see, oh wow, people deal with the same things I'm dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone just starts doing incredible things and it's not difficult.
Right.
Because that's not how it works, right?
No.
So it's good to hear, and if you think about all the major names out there, the Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, Ed Milet, all these people, one thing they're really good at, and that everyone knows, is what they came from.
Yeah.
What their situation was, how they got there. And every time I listen to that stuff, it's like, wow,
It's inspiring.
it's good, it's inspiring, it's relatable. Yep. So let's get into it, man. I'm going to interview you.
Cool.
I'm going to ask you some questions, and I'm just going to take notes here, man, and let you talk. So,
All right.
the first thing we'll start with the beginning,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
What, when you were early childhood, with what you can remember, we don't have to go back from, infancy or anything.
Yeah.
With what you can remember.
Yep.
What do you think played into some of the things that, when you were a child, played into you developing into an entrepreneur and a business professional? What do you think some of those times growing up made you kind of realize that's what you'd probably want to do?
Yeah. So, I mean, growing up, like, school for me was a big, didn't like school.
Yep.
Didn't like, and it wasn't that I didn't like learning, because I do like learning, but I didn't like the authority of school. I didn't like the, people like that. I felt like it was, and still is, like a path that they're leading you on, and they're like, this is where everybody goes. You go to school, you get the grades. If you do well there, you're going to go to college, you're going to get the grades, and then they're going to give you a piece of paper, and that piece of paper is going to tell you what you're worth in the marketplace, and then that piece of paper is going to get you a job, and then you're going to work that job for, 65 years, and then you're going to retire, and that's it. So I didn't like that. I didn't like the thought of doing what everybody else was doing, because that didn't sound like a good plan to me, because I'm thinking, well, you don't really get to, not that that's a bad thing, and there's people out there listening that's what they did, but that just wasn't going to be good for me. I didn't like the idea of, like, waiting that long to get into it. So I wanted
people
to,
telling you what to do, how to do it, and how much to make, essentially.
Yep.
There's a number next to each of those jobs.
and saying that that's the one way.
Yeah.
This is the only way. This is the way. If you don't like it, and by the way, if you're gonna do anything other than that, then you're basically just gonna be a dropout, a nobody. Somebody that, which again, like, it it's not bashing education, because I think education's extremely important, but it's
Right.
what are they telling me, you know?
Right. And it's not the same as like learning a skill and being valuable in the market. That's extremely, you have to be valuable in the market, right? But when you're getting told all the way through school, go be a lawyer, go be a teacher,
Yep.
go be an accountant, some of
Yep.
these things. Well, there's what they're telling you is what they know,
That's right.
right? They know that they went to school, did pretty good, got a bachelor's degree at least, went into some job, right? And that's security. That's, ooh, 2 weeks a year of vacation, you're going to save up some money for 401k and you'll retire when you're 68 and a half, right? And that's the golden years, by the way.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember one of my teachers, like when I was, because it got worse it always does. It gets worse as you get into like high school and stuff. Because the closer you get to graduating high school, it's like it's time to figure it out, right? And so I remember one of my teachers asking, like, because she could tell, and I wasn't doing hot in school, not because I was stupid, but because I didn't care about it, because I knew that there's a different way and a different path. And I remember her saying, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to make a lot of money and be free. And she's like, well, you're going to have to get better grades and, go to a good college.
That's what she
And
knows.
that's what she knows, right? So, and that's her doing her job. But to me, it was like, so that kind of doing that path and like doing poorly in school as far as like grades and not wanting to be told what to do, and that like that. I look back now and see that as that's pushing me to, because what do I have now? I have freedom. I make good money, and I don't have to listen to somebody else say you have to do this or but now does that mean you can't be disciplined? No, you have to actually be way more disciplined than anybody going to a normal job, because you have to tell yourself, I'm going to do this every day.
Yeah, so that's how you develop through the school system, right? And your thought there. What about your childhood? What about, how you grew up, things you saw? Maybe it was family members or friends' families. What things did you notice that you were like, you know what, I just can't do that. I gotta, or maybe you recognize patterns with your parents, right? That didn't make sense for you.
So we grew up, like most of my early childhood until like maybe I was 10 or 13 or something. I think 13. So until I was 13, we grew up pretty much lower class. Maybe by the age of 10 to 13, maybe we were making it into like the lower middle class, but we didn't like my dad ended up doing well, but it ended up being after I was, already graduated and basically moved out, so the entire like growing up. And I remember having friends that actually, looking back, their parents weren't doing well. They were just blowing their money, but they all had things that I didn't have, like snowmobiles and all, we didn't have anything like that. Like, no, it wasn't even like, we weren't even going to ask because we knew it wasn't an option. And my parents always gave us as much as they could. They always like, we always were in all the sports. Like they provided for us. We had food, we had clothes, but we weren't going to like have the really cool stuff,
Sure.
And, I didn't really I had a good friend of mine, his parents were both business owners, and they did very well, and he had everything, and not that stuff is what's most important, but he had all that. He had freedom. His parents could make it to every game, everything, and he can go to the best school and all that. And so those little things you see growing up, and it just makes a huge impact on who do you want to be, as when you grow up, who do you want to be like?
Sure. So you caught on, right? You recognized the situation. I'm guessing you probably didn't want anything similar, right?
Right.
And you were like, look, this is what I'm seeing. I have to get out of that. And that's another reason why, and I'll lead into the next question with this, because it's so important to understand, like, why are you compelled to do entrepreneurship? What compels you, right? So if you look at your past and where you're at today, I mean, what would you say is probably that main compelling reason that took you down that route?
It's probably pretty much like almost you hear every entrepreneur talk about it, but freedom is the biggest thing. Like freedom of everything, freedom of time, freedom of finances, freedom to say I can go do what I want when I want, however I want. You know, like you and I were talking about this the other day. Like when we can go into a store and get anything we want there. Like not because things are what make us happy, but like if you want to go, you know, if you want to get out for a couple months and go to Florida because it's, you know, negative 2 degrees outside and everybody, you know, hates it, that's awesome, you know, because we can do that when we have freedom.
We can decide that. Now there's sacrifices we have to make, right? There's a tremendous amount of downside to starting out. It's emotionally horrible sometimes. I mean, there's times where it's like, God, I can't keep doing this. It's like, but what you realize, and the reason I say all the time, is you have to have a very compelling reason.
Absolutely.
Because what is going to keep you pushing when it's tough?
Yeah.
What's going to get you out of bed and get moving?
What people probably don't realize when they look at us or anybody, you know, that is doing well or they're running their own business or whatever they're doing, what people don't realize is on a weekly basis, maybe even a daily basis, but definitely a weekly basis, we probably deal with something, a problem that would be absolutely devastating to most people.
Right.
If they're just like, if you're an employee and you're working, you know, at a play, you got a boss and you're secure or whatever, and something big comes up, like that's your boss handling it. You don't have to. But when we're dealing with something like major, like, hey, one of our houses that we're working on just completely flooded because a pipe burst and insurance isn't going to cover it.
Yep.
People, that's like, most people would be devastated. Like it's just, they're going to throw in the towel, and we just deal with it, you know?
Well, yeah, but here's the thing. Some people, I've talked about this before on the podcast, but some people deal with that naturally really good that are in business, right? And that's what I'm referring to mostly. Some people deal with that naturally really good. I think you're one of those people, right? Some people don't deal with that naturally very good, but it's learnable, like myself, right?
Right.
Because when I first started off in business, something like that was devastating to me.
Absolutely.
And I had to learn, you know, how to go through and actually process that right. So I told a guy that we work with, I told him, you know, what you're going to realize about mindset in business is mindset is going to come down to discipline. It's going to come down to resilience, and it's going to come down to controlling your emotions, both the highs and the lows.
Yep.
And so that, again, that's one thing I think you're good at, is the emotional control, but it is very hard.
Yeah, it's hard.
And it's not something that everyone can handle. But the other thing is you're trying to handle it all on your own. Could you imagine trying to do all that on your own?
No, that's crazy.
When you deal with something together as a team, as a unit, as one thing, it's doable. Right. And now we allow ourselves to process the emotions of frustration and excitement and all these things, but we can't bask in it. We can't hang there. We got to keep moving, right?
And that all comes down to the compelling reason and the why. The reason that you're doing it, because people, like, you wouldn't go through that. Like, imagine that, like, think about the concept of you just saying, I went and learned how to do that. Imagine somebody saying, I'm going to go learn how to deal with really difficult stuff on purpose. But the reason you did that is because I know I'm going to have to deal with that kind of stuff consistently if I'm going to do big things. And if I can deal with that, then I'm getting that compelling reason. That's the thing I'm shooting for.
Yeah, it's great. And I remember actually telling you recently, but I remember, you know, there was one thing that I got from Ed Milet. I love that guy. He's just the perfect guy to replicate. He's a good man, good Christian guy. He just cares about people. He puts out everything and just gives. But he said, I'm not going to quit for one more day.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give up for one more day. And I can find myself in days where it's really tough saying that. You know what? I'm not going to give up one more day. I'm going to sit here one more day and go through all the calls, all the follow-up, all the texting, all the stuff going on. and I'm not going to quit for one more day. The other thing I did, before, and I think it's just a good exercise, is take yourself back to when you first committed to doing the entrepreneurship thing, whatever the thing was. And if you're like 2, 3, 4, 5 years into this plus, look at yourself. I want you to go back in time, look at yourself and say, hey, listen, things are getting tough. I'm not quite sure I can do this. I'm going to quit on you. I'm going to give up on you. I'm done. In 4.5 years, I'm giving up. I'm throwing in the towel. I'm walking away. Everyone was right. You weren't going to make it, and I'm going to quit on you.
Yeah.
And what would you tell to yourself at that time when you knew, when you started in this, you were going to give this everything you had?
Yep.
You were so determined. You put in all this work. You learned all this stuff. And think about this. Here's the other thing that's funny about that. You literally went through the absolute worst times in this already. Imagine, like, the first 6 months to the first year are the worst. You've been through it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Exactly. And we both said the other day, like you said it the other day, but we've said this for since we started doing this, like, I'm not, and we do like a little bit, but as on like a grand scale, I am not going through another learning curve.
No.
Like I'm not like, and if you ever started something new, you know what I'm talking about there. Like anything, there's such a huge learning curve. Like you don't know even the fundamentals. You know nothing about this, and you're just gonna get hit the whole way up. And now,
because no matter what you start, it's hard.
Yeah,
it is. There's nothing that you're getting into that makes a tremendous amount of money in the marketplace, that adds value, that is going to pay you very, very well and give you freedom, that is not extremely hard to start.
Right.
Good luck. I'll be a realtor. It's hard.
Really
it's hard. 90% of them don't make it, or they make very little.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to start buying up businesses. It's hard. It's all hard. Everything's difficult when you look at that. So you need to just be laser focused on one thing. What's the alternative? Like you said here, the alternative for you isn't good, right? There's going to be not a lot of great options with that. And if you think the alternative is go get a job after you've done 2, 3, 4, 5 years of being your own guy,
not gonna
luck
work
with it.
Yeah.
No one values you or will pay you as much as you would pay you, right? Or you value your time.
Right.
You value your family and what that looks like. You value the structure of your business. It's just you. And if you think that way, and you're struggling and you're having issues and you're listening to this and you're like, I am thinking of giving up. I do get that way. I feel freaking hopeless. You need to connect with people that can help you with that. Whatever it is, they've been there. Talk to them about it, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I wanted to lead into, because that's just an incredible thing to make sure everyone understands. Go back to the reason you started this in the first place, right? Why'd you do it in the first place?
Right.
Go talk to yourself 3 years ago when you started, and let them know, hey, why were we doing this again? You got to hold on to that. That's what's going to keep you up and work when it's tough. It's going to make you pick up the phone and make a tough phone call. It's going to help you close more transactions. It's going to keep you motivated. It's going to keep you disciplined to your things, right? So I wanted to talk about a little bit more of your professional background before, the real estate stuff. As I understand it, you started working at an investment firm or something, or there was some sort of financial advisory company, and then walk us through from there, kind of how you got into what you got into, and then talk about also the importance of all the sales training that you learned. Yeah.
So when I graduated high school, I got a job before. I'm trying to think of the timeline here. I got a job cleaning floors and doing that, at nights. And I started learning. I I started learning like all of the like watching YouTube videos, reading books like Think and Grow Rich, like all those like classic books about success and what that looks like, and learning from all these business people. So my mom connected me with, so her boss's husband had an investment advisory. So, and he was looking for a young person to just mentor and teach business and all that stuff. Just a really cool guy. His name was Carl Kreiderman, but he just an incredible guy. Like brought me in, showed me, just taught me different things, and actually ended up having me come and work there as an intern. Just doing little things, but I actually helped. Funny enough, one of the ladies that worked there went on maternity leave, and so they had to have somebody take her job, which was running like their seminars. So setting up like their seminars, that all they did for that whole business was, as far as like marketing, they did referrals, but they would send out mailers, get people to a dinner, and then run a seminar at that dinner, and then they would sign up clients to invest. And so this lady went on maternity leave, and they're like, "You want to run the seminars for us?" So like that was a really cool way to like get into that business. And
so what did that entail as far as running the seminars? Were you setting up and speaking, or were you just setting it up for them?
No. The owner spoke at them. But we, basically like they would send the mailer out. I would do like normal like intern type stuff. But then once those mailers hit, all the people that were calling to go to the seminar would call in. I would take that call. I would vet them with the little script that they had there.
I got it.
To make sure they qualified for the dinner, and then they'd go to because you got to qualify.
You had to qualify for the dinner.
You can't just go get a free dinner.
Yeah. How much do you have in your
yeah, exactly. Good. And so how liquid are you? Yeah. So we got them to the dinner. Then I would go. It would just be like they did it like once a month, and then they would. We would go, just me and another employee, to the venue, and it would be all around where we live, within 45 minutes or so. And we would go and set up the venue, like with all the tables, and just get it like I was like coordinating that whole thing, like from set like not only like setting up the venue, but like calling the venue, booking the venue, going there, setting it all up, which was a really good. It was just cool to see like. That was where I first got to see like the start of what does sales look like, what does business and marketing look like, right? Yep. You do marketing, that's your cold calling, your mailers, your pay-per-click, all that stuff, whatever it is. In this case, it was mailers because it was back in the day when that worked, right? And they would send the mailers, that's your marketing. Now someone calls in, I want to go to the dinner. Now you've got a lead. Now I'm going to qualify that lead. Sure. I got to get them to the place. Now we're going to convert that into an appointment, and then that's when the closer, the owner, is going to come in, and he's going to hopefully get them to invest some money in something. So that was really a really cool experience for me. I was doing that for a few years, and while I was doing that, I would do that, I think, like a few days a week, like, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, something like that. I can't remember. But in between that, I started my own car cleaning business. So I wanted to be the guy, the owner, the guy doing the thing, right? So I was going out knocking doors, like to get clients for cleaning their cars, all that stuff. So that
what door? Business owners?
Business owners, like used car places, like used car sales. I would go and
what did that sound like?
I would just go in and ask them to clean their cars that they buy, because they're buying used. They're buying a used car, but they're going to sell it, so they need a clean car. And I actually ended up picking up one of the places in town. They just let me do it. So I cleaned several cars for them, and but it's tough running a business. Like I was cleaning the car when I could, and taking it back, and then I got to start over with clients and all that stuff. But I had people at the hospital like cleaning. I was cleaning their car while they're working, all that stuff. But I didn't see like a way to build that, and I didn't really have help. I didn't know to ask for help, so it was like. To get employees, like I'm cleaning the car for $80, and it's going to take 6 hours, and I can't pay someone $10 an hour. It just wouldn't make sense financially. So, but yeah, that was like a big part of like my later years, like getting into work. I didn't work through high school. Like I was in sports and stuff, so
Yep.
I couldn't do it. But like getting into work was me getting around a business owner, like building a little bit of my own business, which
Yeah.
was really good experience.
Which, by the way, guys, going when you're young and knocking on business owners' doors and doing some of this stuff, it takes a lot of courage.
Oh yeah, I was
tough.
19 years old. I had
It's scary.
I put a little dress
Yep.
shirt, tie, all that,
Yep.
and I walk around, no clue. I had no sales experience.
But you had the courage to
I'm
go
walking
in, and do
in
it.
like this with a
Yep.
with a little
There you
sheet,
go.
put it down with my pricing, and
Yeah.
and talk to the people. But the reality of that is business owners, because that's who I was going to. They see and recognize that you're trying and that you're willing to put yourself out there. And just the fact that you're doing that and you're genuine and you're
Yep.
honest, you don't have to, at that point, you don't have to have the sales skills. You need to learn it, but you just need to have the courage to go try.
That's right.
And then I guarantee my pitch wasn't any good to the lady that let me clean their used cars.
Yeah.
I guarantee it wasn't any good.
Yep.
But she saw somebody that with ambition and drive and the willingness to go out and get a client, and so they gave me a shot. But yeah, that was interesting. So
And then from there, you're doing that, and then
I'm
then what
cleaning
happened?
floors at night.
Yep.
At the Consumers Energy, just whatever, and cleaning floors, toilets, the whole thing, the whole building,
Okay,
right?
yep.
From I would get there like.
From janitorial.
Yeah, from like I'd get
Yep.
there at like 8 or 9 and clean there for 4 hours every night.
Okay.
So and I ended up quitting the investment place because the other lady came back and I was just doing the intern stuff and I wanted to focus on the car cleaning. So I was doing the car cleaning day and at night
You're
doing that cleaning, and that
Sure.
whole time cleaning there, I got turned on to Grant Cardone. And so every night, like normal floor cleaners in their early, 19, 20-year-old floor cleaners, they're probably listening to some music or whatever, but I was listening to Grant Cardone for 4 hours every night. Real estate, sales, all that stuff, every single day. And just learning, like, there's a way to be successful in this, and
Yep.
it's gonna start, for me, it's gonna start with sales.
Yeah, it's funny. That's and I'll just go to this part for a minute, because when I first recognized you as someone like, oh, I'm gonna go talk to him, you had your 10X backpack and your little bracelet, and
Yep.
and you had your stuff, and I was like, you know what? I got basically. I went from I'm going to quit my job to I'm going to make a ton of money as a business owner in 30 minutes because of Grant Cardone. And so it's just crazy how it kind of comes full circle. And you when you're in a tough spot, right, and you're trying to learn something, and you're trying to better yourself because you just wanted out of that, clearly.
Yeah.
If you're going to businesses and knocking on the door and saying, hey, here's what I can do for you, you want something bad.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
want
yeah.
it bad enough to do that.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you're there cleaning toilets and floors
Yep.
and listening to
Listen
that,
to
you're
that.
like, I'm getting the out of here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah,
'Cause
absolutely.
You have to.
Yeah, and so that kind of started like because we, like, as we get on a path, and looking back now, it's funny to look at it because you grow out of things and you grow into who you're trying to be.
Yep.
And so I'm cleaning those floors and toilets, listening to Grant Cardone. And I remember being like, one of the nights I called one of my friends who owned a business and got on the phone with him. And I just started like hitting him with some of these sales things I was learning, like just, because he was selling, he's in landscaping. So he was selling like patios or like whatever, landscaping services. I remember hitting him helping him through some of the like prospects he was working on. And he was like, dang, like, you're getting really good at this. Like, why don't you come sell for me? So I went and worked with him, like sold landscaping stuff. Like, we sold some decent jobs and, going through there, but it just, he was good to me, but it never was enough, right? Like, it wasn't enough, and I was growing and I was getting good at sales and I was getting
And you
confident.
weren't a part owner or anything. It
No,
was his
I was
business.
just working there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever. I had a small salary and just making commission or whatever.
Okay.
And so I'm selling those and I'm getting them, but I was getting confident. I was getting good. I was still doing the sales training all the time, and and I wanted to get into something better. And I remember one of my really good friends from high school, Hayden, his dad was always really successful, always
Yep.
doing really well. And, he worked and his wife stayed at home, so she could always pick us up and take us and feed us before a soccer game or whatever. And so I always wanted to replicate their life a little bit. Like, he was always just a really good guy, like genuine, good Christian guy. And so I wanted to replicate that. And he was in sales. He was selling insurance. So that's where, I went to him and, we set up it was funny how I got in the room with him, because I thought he was kind of like an out of touch kind of guy. Like, when you're in this, we talk about this all the time. Like, when you're not successful and you see successful people, you're like,
oh,
I'm not on their level.
I'm not allowed to approach them.
I can't talk to them. I
Yep.
can't ask them for help. They're going to tell me to go away, And
Yep.
I never thought that. He was always so good to me. He was nice. And he was one of my soccer coaches when I was a really young, but that's different, right? Going to him and saying, can you help me do what you do, or point me in a direction of a good sales job or something like that. It just felt like I couldn't do that. You know what I mean? And I didn't know him that well at that point, but it was funny. So the way I got in the room with him is he was moving 45 minutes away to take his kids to the college town that they were going to. They sold their house and they were moving, and I'm like, I'll come help you move for free. I'll just come and help you. And I moved hours, just moving stuff and helped him move. And then we got to the end of the night, and then I made him talk to me. And it was I could have talked to him anytime, but I just didn't know that was.
Sure. Asking for help, by the way, for some people, I know this is one of your things that was tough, but asking for help can be so hard.
Yeah.
Because what you think sometimes when you're going out and doing this is that they all had to figure it out on their own, and I had to figure it out on my own.
Yeah.
Right. And you don't go and ask for help, and you're not really taught to go and talk to strangers and ask for help.
Yeah.
Growing up.
That was one of the biggest things that I went to the 10X Growth Con in 2019, and he they had so many good speakers and everything, just so much value. And I had a notebook full of notes, but one of the biggest things I wrote down that Grant said on stage, the very last day, it was the last thing he said, and he was choked up saying it, just almost in tears. He's like, you guys need to be able to go like this. Help. Raise your hand. I need help. Who can help me?
That's right.
And in everything you do, be able to raise your hand and say, I need help with this.
Absolutely.
How can you help me? We do this daily. Hey, I'm looking at this. Even us, right? We've done a lot of deals. We know what we're doing, but we still go to people for help when we're like, this one I'm not so sure on.
Give me a hand.
Give me a hand here. And then we always work with that person. But anyway, so so I was doing the growth con, I was doing the sales training, and then I went and met Steve, his name is, for the insurance, and he got me into that job, and then that was just more.
Well, he got you into the room. You took care of the rest. So talk about kind of how that went, because this type of job, which I was there as well.
Yeah,
they technically require a bachelor's degree, which you didn't have.
I graduated.
Talk about that.
I graduated high school with a 2.7 because I was screwing around.
So you had to sell yourself in this job.
100%.
He got you an interview. He didn't get you the job.
No. He did not get me the job. Absolutely no. He got me in the room. He actually didn't even get me in the room. He got me the guy's number.
Yeah.
The owner's number.
Okay.
Here's his number. You call him.
You can say that you know him.
Good luck.
You know me.
And not that he wouldn't help me further than that, but here's his number. Call him. And so at that point, I had enough sales training to get to know how to make that call, be quick, concise, set the meeting. And so they got me in the room, and my whole pitch to those guys, they go like this. It was so funny. You had two interviews, right? You're going to meet with some of the executives that aren't the owners, and then you can get in the room with the owners. So I'm in the room with the people that have been there a long time at the insurance agency, but they're the executives of each different branch, right?
Sure.
So there's I can't remember. It was all ladies, 6 of them or so in the room. And the first question they say, so what do you know about insurance? I don't know one thing about insurance. I don't know anything about it. I don't know All I know is I don't like paying it,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to have it, right? For my car, right? I have to have it, and I don't like paying it. That's all I know. But I'm willing to do anything it takes to be successful here. I'm willing to knock on doors. I'm willing to talk to people I don't know. I'm willing to learn. I can learn, and I will be great, but I'll do whatever it takes to be successful here. And they kind of laughed about the not knowing insurance like that. I caught them with that, with a little bit like that. They
Yeah.
laughed about that.
By the way, what
And
you know about insurance doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter, right?
It's what you know about people.
But I was able to pitch that. They loved me. They got me in the room
Yep.
with the guys. I told them the same thing. I don't know anything about insurance, but I'll do anything it takes to win all this. And I hit them with all my past, like the story with going door to door for selling the car cleaning business, like pitching myself, because all I've ever had to do is pitch myself because I didn't have anything to bring. I don't have a good college degree. I don't have, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I do have the drive. And so I pitched him. I got he called me, and that's how he offered me the job. He's like, we don't do this. Like, we don't hire people. Like, we've never hired anybody like you. But I think you'll kill all of the people that we've hired in the past that have the college degree because of your drive. And I did,
That's right. Yep.
I made it I did very well in that job. Like it wasn't easy. Like, it was really tough.
Yep.
But
absolutely.
I was successful. I did get just shy of 6 figures when I left, like, which is like to
Hard
make it
there.
and to make it more than 2 years at an insurance job is not.
92% of insurance agents fail in the first 12 months.
Yeah.
Just for anyone listening.
Yeah, exactly.
That's stats, and that's not commercial. That's just all around.
Then you and I both made that way past that.
Yeah, absolutely. So then your upbringing to where you just got to putting yourself out there. You started learning, which is super important. Once you start learning things, you actually gain confidence. Confidence gets you to get in the room with other people, having the courage to ask someone for help, right? Getting into that job where you actually technically were not qualified for that job on paper.
Not at all.
But you sold yourself that job because you were driven. And again, when you're driven and committed, that comes across.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now.
Yep.
The commitment and determination. I can tell anyone listening to this guy shows up when he's sick. He shows up when he's not feeling it. If he's having a tough day, he'll still do it. If it's something not going his way, we'll get back to it. You show up and you're committed. No one can take that away and deny that.
Thanks, man.
So talk about obviously you did that job. I think you stayed there maybe 5.5 years. So that's a long time.
5 years. Yep.
For most people, right? It's a good amount of time. But what happened is, well, talk about this. So you gained probably a ton of confidence, right?
Yeah.
When you got into doing that for 5 years, by the time you and I, discussed, and I told the story about how you and I basically left that place in a similar way. How did you feel confidence-wise by the time we decided we were going to get into wholesaling real estate? Just so people understand, like, there was not just we were working at Dow Chemical and shipping and receiving and jumped in confidently and had all this stuff.
No.
We kind of built that up, and that's why we had a competitive advantage, and we started off quicker.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. No, I was I was selling big accounts, like getting accounts that most people get when they're in their 60s, because
having conversations with strangers,
every day,
making offers, following up, closing opportunities, all those things that translate into every business.
Yeah, absolutely. So we were training. You and I were role playing and training every day when we were doing sales, and getting that builds confidence. Training builds confidence. It's not wins build confidence, but knowing what you're doing builds more confidence than anything. Yeah. And knowing that you have the resilience so once you have the knowledge and you have the resilience and you have the why, like, you're unstoppable. Like, I'm going to come in here and win today. Like, that's the mindset that you have.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's where, you kind of look at, getting from starting banging on the doors, working, at that financial place, working for your friend, selling yourself into that job to now this, it just kind of paints a picture of like, look, there's always a come up, right? It's not
Yeah.
like some people think you just, what about these people that just get in? They're naturally great. Look, they've got a ton of resilience.
Oh,
they
yeah.
they have thick skin.
And
they
they
have
their
courage.
And by the way, let's just face it, they've had their fair share of mental breakdowns, like
For sure.
freaking out. Like,
Yep.
I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, just the whole, the worst days you can think of,
Yep.
they've had their fair share.
But you don't quit.
No.
You go for one more day. You keep pushing forward. You don't put that in your mind as an option, right?
Yeah.
And so that's awesome to hear, man. And this is something that you and I have talked about a lot together. But let's talk about the biggest reason most people are going to want to get into being an entrepreneur. Like, yeah, obviously the money's good. Well, you can make good money for a big company, right? What you usually don't get with that is you don't get to do things your way on your time schedule the way you want to.
Right.
You're not going to get that time freedom. So what would you say to anyone who's looking to get into being an entrepreneur about, the importance of, like, what would you say to them about the time freedom side of it? Like, why maybe that's worth it?
Yeah. I mean, to me, like, being able to be with my family at the times in the day when that's important is huge. Like, I cannot see it. And I like have nothing but the utmost respect for people who work jobs where they can't see their family much. I don't know how they do it. But I respect that. I know that people get stuck in spots where they just have to do that.
Yep.
But I couldn't do it. Like leaving at 6 a.m. and getting back at 9 o'clock and your kids are already asleep, or maybe you're putting them to bed. It's like, I can't do that.
What's the cost?
I won't allow that to happen in my
Yep.
life. And you and I have built a business where that was one of the cores, for us.
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah.
we want our mornings with our family and we want our evenings with our family, and even like late afternoons with our family. Like, we have built that. We want our weekends with our family, and we want to be able to go on trips when we
Yep.
want to, go where we want to. And
Absolutely.
so that the time freedom is like, that's huge. And the other thing is, you will burn yourself out if you're working, like what I just said, that I don't care if you're an employer out there and you have employees working from 6 a.m. to 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock,
Good luck.
they all want to quit, 100% of them. And if you don't think that's the truth, you're joking yourself.
Well, we have to understand that what real success is, right?
Yeah.
You're not successful because you work 12 hours a day, are going through a divorce, but you have a decent amount of money in your bank account.
No.
And you have no relationship with your family and your kids hardly know you. Is that what I look at as success? No. So you have to kind of have that. I mean, you call it, people want to call it balance, but it's just not true enjoyment of life.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, when the money hits the account, it's awesome. But the second something happens to you, even if it's just a slight scare,
Yeah.
you almost get hit by a car, right? Things like come up. Your blood work looks really bad at the hospital. The only thing you're going to think about is that time that you didn't have with your family, and you're going to just cycle through in your head. And I'll tell you right now, the money in your account doesn't do anything for that.
No.
So just remember, like, it's like when you mentioned one of our cores was, it's not something that I'd like to do. It's something I have to do. I'm not going through a divorce.
Right.
I'm not having my kids hardly know me. I grew up that way, right? I'm not having, I'm never going to church, or I'm never a part of these Bible studies or any of these things because I'm constantly working all this stuff.
Right.
You have to be in all of that. You really have to have everything set well, because if it's just the money,
Yeah.
the money's not going to be enough.
No.
And I'll tell you right now, money on your own is lonely, right? And the reason that you should have got into having all that money in the first place was for your family. But your family, I can tell you, if your kids are just getting the money 20 years from now, if they just got the money, it was just the money, they're going to tell you the money's fine, but I wish I had more time with you.
Yeah. No,
It's not enough.
that's a really good point. I remember watching a video with Grant Cardone. He was showing one of his like illustrious, vacations, and one of those ones where it's like $100,000 for 7 days or something crazy, And he's like, he said in the video, he's like, this is really cool, this place, and it's all cool. He said, but every vacation you get there and you're looking at it and it's like, this place is sick and we got all this stuff. But he said after the first day, it's like, okay, who am I here with now?
That's right.
That's what's important, right? Who am I here with and what are we doing together?
That's right.
And you can do that anywhere.
Yeah.
So it's cool to have the money and it's cool to have the vacation and the, all the big glamorous stuff. But at the end of the day, who am I here with and what are we talking about and what are we doing together is the most important thing out of all that.
Yeah. And again, that's why it's our core, right? Because I have to care about your family, you have to care about mine, but we have to care about each other. And I can't say that I care about you if I sit you down and say, look, man, 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. We're gonna go and drive down twice a week now downstate. It's going to be a whole like, look, that's not me saying that I value you or your family at all. That's me being selfish, right? So so the time freedom's great, and that's why I wanted to talk to you about that a little bit and get your perspective. But people who get into this, I can tell you right now, that does not mean that you get all this free time to sit around and do nothing. I want to just point this, take this home, because you are going to have to work extremely hard.
100%.
It's going to be tough. There's going to be days where still like you feel like nothing's going right, but you have to do it in a way where if I can do this every single day consistently, can I show up 5-6 days a week and do this without feeling burned out? Right. And some days, even with what we do, I'm like, oh man, dude, that's like, I need that to be done with today.
Right.
But can you imagine, like, if people are trying to get into this and they're like 10, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week? It's not, guys, what I'm telling you is I'm saying be consistent, but be graceful.
Yeah.
Give yourself 4 or 5 hours of pure quality, good, intentional time in the business.
Yeah.
Where you're doing the right things, and make sure you talk to people about what those right things are if you don't know.
Yeah.
And the rest of your time needs to be recharge, maybe go work out, maybe go for a walk, spend some time with your family, go get coffee, like breathe. Because if it's 12 hours a day, that 6th day, you're going to not want to show up.
And just to be clear, like so people understand, like we're available, like when but we're not. But when we work, we're working.
That's right.
Like when we work for those 4 or 5 hours every day, it's not joke. Like we have fun, but we're not taking breaks and like shooting the shit and doing all. We're not doing all that stuff. We're working, fully working, and then when we go and we break, in the later afternoon, and then
that's time then.
Now we're gonna take some time. I'm available. I'll take a call. I'll take a text. I'll do a deal. But I'm not like you. It's not really possible for you to sit down and like grind for 8 hours a day. And that's where most people, when they work their 8 hours, they're not really working 8 hours.
Yeah. And what are you giving up if you are?
Yeah.
What are you giving up if you are?
Yeah.
Are you giving up happiness? Are you giving up sleep? Are you giving up time with your wife and kids? What are you giving up? No, I'm not because when you're done with that, you're not going in that house as you.
Yeah.
You're going in as that person that just got his face punched in for 8 freaking hours. You're beat, man.
That's so bad.
And I think one more thing I'll mention about Ed My Light, this like was crazy to me. He said take a because we're really disciplined about the 4.5, 5 hours that we do, which is just we have to, right? So we do that amount of time. We literally set a timer on each activity, and we don't stop until it's done, right?
Yep.
If we buy ourselves 10 minutes, then we bought ourselves 10 minutes, and I literally say that, right?
Yeah.
But Ed Milet says take an inventory of what things rob you of those self-disciplines.
Yeah.
So guys, I'll repeat his words for you because I want you to hear this. Write down the things that take you away from doing the right things.
Yeah.
Oh, my phone's going off. Put it down.
Yep.
Right? I get really hungry and I start to feel dizzy. you need to eat before you start, right? Like, it's just like it seems simple, but like take an inventory of all the things that rob you from doing the right things every day. For me, going to the gym for a while, and more recently I figured this out. I couldn't go consistently in the morning because of, I've got a little one and I got to help, and she's going to the hot. So I couldn't keep to it.
Right.
So when I fall out of schedule, I fall out of it. In the evenings, I tried too. And if I went in the evening, I was too beat because I always work in the evening a little bit, and I'm too beat and I'm like, not really, I don't have the energy to go to the gym. If it's way too early in the morning before anyone wakes up, I'm not that kind of guy.
You don't want to do that.
So, and I can't go at lunch because I need that time to kind of like just breathe throughout our day. So for me, like I had to take inventory of all those things that kept me away from it. Now I can go between 4 to 5 every single day. My wife and son are taking a nap typically. I can go in for 30 minutes, get out quick. I'm 2 minutes away.
Yep, you found a gym close. Yeah,
I don't even have to really get changed or anything, and I can get in and out. So guys, look at every single thing that you have that you need to be doing, and find out how to make it easier on yourself. I wanted to lead into the last question here, which is just, it's tough to say you'd change anything in life because everything kind of happens and falls into place the way it's supposed to.
Right.
But let's say that you can, and that it does work that way. And you could go back and you could talk to yourself. Maybe, really what most people do is they speed up the process. But let's say you could talk to yourself and give yourself some advice. What would you change about starting off to, what your life was to what it could be instead? What would you give yourself?
That's a really good question. So the one thing I would say 100%, like without a doubt, is get help. Yeah. In every area of your life, on everything. Don't be afraid to ask for help and ask the person that it's so easy. It's not a secret, guys. Like if you want to be fit, like let's say that's your goal, you want to be fit, you want to be in shape, why don't you go to somebody who's fit and ask them how to do it, and they're going to tell you because they love telling people and helping people. Like forget that. You have to put that in your get that out of your head. Like people want to help each other. Successful people want to help other people. So like go to people for help, get help. And then the other thing would be is like get with people who are like good for you in your life. Like you and I work so well together. I was thinking, like we were talking earlier about, I was thinking about like the sales stuff and working in insurance. And I remember we had a sales coach lady that she, we loved her. Yeah, she was interesting, but her and I clashed a little. But you guys were, you handled her well. But but she did tell me one thing that like kind of stuck out to me, and it made me think of our dynamic. She said, "You're a scrapper. Like you just like you're just a little scrappy guy. Like you just fight. You fight and you set your eyes on it, and you just pound and you pound and you pound." And she's like, "What you need is some strategy." That's right. And I never had that. And so you and I working together is like just like almost an unstoppable dynamic. That's because it's like I'm gonna push and I'm gonna grind and I'm gonna hit it from as hard as I can. But you can pick me up and say,
yeah,
let's go right this way.
Sometimes where I'll just hand, here, take care of this guy and do some of this because you're going to be good at it. And I think you want to lead this call and you're going to want to follow up with them and you're going to do it on your schedule. And look, take the buyers and deal with most of the buyers because I know how to fit in with your personality, what you're going to be really good at and what you need to be working on. And you know what I probably need to be working on, right? Right, like exactly. There's just two different things, but yeah, that's super interesting.
It's huge because so you've got me, you're setting me in the right direction. You're like strategizing, like you're going to handle this, and then if I go off and I'm like, hey man, we're going to go knock all the doors in Detroit and see if they like, nope, that's not a good strategy, buddy. That's not, so if you can get around people that are, it doesn't have to be a partnership. Like partnerships can be tough and not everybody should be in a partnership, but get with people
Who
that
can
are
help
going
you
to benefit you,
offset that.
and yeah, and you can work together in that way, and so and that just goes down to getting help again, right? Just asking for help, asking somebody to come and, hey, will you work with me, or will you help me, or how can I be more like you and do that? So that's the one thing I would change in all areas.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of look at it like for me, like I was saying last time we were here, I would probably just accelerate it from the information. I would accelerate it. I mean, I would do what you said here quicker. I'd ask for help sooner. I would surround myself with winners sooner. I would probably have not done the college route and all this stuff. But, every single thing that happened and happens to us when we allow it to can be for our benefit. We just had something happen today that wasn't exactly exciting to hear. But I could tell you probably 3 good things I got out of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if just like that right there, just the way I handled that right there, if I could go back to my younger self and say, listen, take a freaking deep breath.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Uh-huh.
What you need to do, nothing's happening to you.
Yeah.
It's happening for you.
Yep.
Okay? And you have to determine the way you're going to absorb and take in information, right? Because if you take in information to everything's against me and everything,
yeah,
you're gonna wallow in pity and nothing's gonna work for you.
That's true, man. Like people watch and don't realize, like 5 minutes before we were about to come here for this, we lost it. Like a deal is falling apart actively, and we don't look like it's.
No.
And it's not like the biggest deal in the world, but it's still like nobody likes to hear like, "Hey, you're losing out on money that you thought you were going to have," and but it doesn't look like we're devastated. You don't look devastated.
No, I'm fine, man. Because here's the deal: I'm showing up tonight.
Yep.
And I'm doing what I have to do tonight.
Yep.
I got some things I got to take care of.
Yep.
I'll see you on Monday.
Yep.
And I'm taking care of what I got to take care of on Monday.
Yep.
I'll see you all week. And I'm going to show up and do everything in my power to control what I can control, because not everything's in my control. What is in my control is me deciding how to react and what to do with that information.
Yep.
So anyone listening to this, another skill set that just, it takes time, but it's so impactful, is learn how to take information in when something happens bad. I mean, let's just call it is bad, right? When bad things happen, learn how to take that in the right way, right? I say mindset again is, to me, it's discipline. How do you keep those disciplines, right? Resilience is not quitting, even when it's freaking hard. That's more so than discipline. Discipline's doing the thing. Resilience is, I'm not going to quit. And emotional control comes from you actively dealing with the highs and lows in the right way. And if you can do that stuff, well, you're going to get hit by it and just freaking not be phased. You're going to be calloused.
Yeah.
Be like, all right, well, we'll move on from it.
Yep.
Here's what we're going to do going forward. And then I'm going to give myself maybe a minute and a half. And
every time it's like, what happened? What can we do next time?
That's right.
What are we going to avoid and what are we going to change? It's like, it's so easy. It's simple.
Absolutely.
Every time.
So guys, dude, this was awesome to hear your thing. Again, I know most of it, but it's cool to hear it, chronologically and as you go through and kind of break it down into more detail. And everyone listening to this, you're gonna recognize some common themes between him and I, and who we were and who we are, and why we have that dynamic and why it works well. Everyone listening to this can be successful.
Oh yeah.
I started as the most scared, terrified person that would pass out in front of a room if I gave a presentation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now I could talk in front of hundreds of people
Easy.
if I had to.
Yeah, and you'd be the best one out there too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
And I can make calls that I never would have made, and I can do things I never would have done, right? Because of everything that I've learned. So take everything in. We're going to come back to this as much as we can and just continue giving you guys value. Follow us on Instagram at Zach and Taylor, MC Fortune LLC, and then the same on Facebook. And follow us on YouTube.
Yeah.
Subscribe on YouTube. We're posting all these podcast full videos there, as well as lots of clips and other videos that you and I make for the channel. So anything else we can do to provide value, let us know.
Yeah.
Until that time, onward and upward. We appreciate you guys. And thank you for listening to another episode.
All right.